Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Artizen Life podcast. Here we will talk about how art can help you relax, improve your creativity and focus, and provide you with a little serenity in this circus we call life. We are going to cover topics about mindfulness, managing our physical and mental well being, women artists, the language of art, and so much more. I am on my own journey with art as a means for self expression and serenity, and I'm really excited to be talking with all of you about it and sharing what I learn. So, on this week's episode, we are going to talk about art and the limbic system, primarily where we dive into the amygdala and how we can use art to help us manage this complex system. So, we're going to talk about how making art can help keep our emotional roller coasters in check once they have been activated. I'm sure for many of us, you have either seen or heard about the movie Inside Out. It is a cute animation about the individual personalities of the emotions all trapped inside of our brains. They are running the whole system collaboratively, and it really is a great metaphor for the part of our limbic system and the section that primarily deals with emotions, which is known as the amygdala. There are a couple of other parts of the limbic system that are important to us, and it has in the past been known as our reptilian brain. However, it's a little bit more complex than that. So there are a couple of key players within the limbic system. Obviously, I mentioned the amygdala already. So that is the one that's in charge of processing all the emotions like fear and pleasure and joy and other emotion that you can name. The amygdala is the one part of the brain that activates the fight or flight response without any guidance from our cognitive brain. It is the part of the brain that senses danger or threats, and it really controls the release of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and essentially prepares the body for that fight for survival or flee to safety response that we get to threats. So let's talk a little bit about the rest of the limbic system. There are a couple other parts. So there's the hippocampus, which is essentially the memory storage. We have the hypothalamus, which is the body or brain's thermostat, keeping everything in check from hunger, pains to stress levels. It also helps manage the stress hormone, cortisol, identifying when trouble is coming, something wicked this way comes. And then there's a couple other parts, the thalamus, the cingulate gyrus. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. But mainly what we're going to focus on today is the amygdala. So, stress can essentially very negatively impact our ability to regulate our emotions. So, when we get stressed, when we're facing threats, and modern day threat in today's society is very different than what a threat for survival would have been back in the early days of human existence. But unfortunately, our brains have not progressed that much since those days. And a threat is a threat is a threat when we are managing our responses to it. So the fight or flight response will kick in whether or not we are running from for our lives from a predatory animal, or whether we receive an aggressive email from a coworker or our boss. The same system is activated, and that is the one in the amygdala. A couple of other modern day stresses that we might not always think about are work deadlines, social media dramas that we get ourselves sucked into by reading the comments, and our Wi-Fi being down, traffic. There are so many different things that can trigger our nervous system to respond. So there are a number of strategies that we can engage in that will help lower our stress and break the fight or flight nervous system response. It's really good to have a nice repertoire to tap into when this happens to us, as it is a little tough to pull out your sketchbook and pencils in the middle of traffic. So it's good to have a number of different strategies to rely on, such as deep breathing or saying the alphabet backwards or reciting a poem or listening to a song that makes you feel calm. And I'm going to encourage you to engage in all of those ones that work for you, that's appropriate to the particular circumstances. But the one that is not talked about enough or engaged in enough, and that is the one of making art. Creating art can be a little bit of a workout for the soul. It helps nourish it, it helps manage your body's stress responses. As you can imagine, when you're painting, sculpting, scribbling, drawing, you're basically doing a brain yoga. So, which is finding that little bit of inner peace and namaste for your soul. It can really help stimulate your senses and soothe you, whether you're feeling the texture of something, whether you're following the step by step process of a paint by numbers or using a coloring book, uh, coloring in a mandala, doing xenograms. There's so many different options that you can use and listen to the satisfying sounds of your tool running over the paper or the canvas. And overall, it can be a really a body sensory experience. So, here are a couple of ways in which you can engage in a practice of art to help you find a little bit of peace in your life. So, first idea is, of course, to grab a plain piece of paper, depending on where you are. This can be computer paper, it can be a page in your notebook. Grab a highlighter and a pen. And what you're going to do is follow the process of making highlighter squares across the page and down the page. And in each square, you're going to scribble a different pattern, whether that is lines from a center, whether that's curved lines from a corner, in whether it's just filling up that square with circles, crossing lines, putting dots in it and connecting the dots. That's going to be one activity that is going to help you to decompress a little bit. Another activity that you could do if you are not a drawer or not a colorer, you can try photo editing. Go to your camera roll, find your favorite image from the past week, and edit it to create a new masterpiece. This is where you can use a free app program to do that, or you can just use your device's camera program to edit the photo, crop, zoom in, saturate. Spend about 5 to 10 minutes working on that photo until you create something new. And that is another way in which you can use art to help you relax, especially if you're looking at something that was a favorite photo of you that you've taken from the last week. It doesn't have to be a selfie. Ideally, it's something that you captured in nature or a pet or a memory that is something that brings you a little bit of joy. A third idea that you can use is, again, grab a piece of paper or paper in your notebook and just put your pen down on the paper, close your eyes, and just make scribble lines all over the page. Maybe do this for just under a minute. You want to fill in enough of the paper that you have a lot of organic shapes within the scribbles, that there is room to fill those in. And once you have felt like you have enough scribbles on the page, open your eyes, look at that page, and then grab some different colored pens, markers, or Sharpies, and you can go ahead and fill in those sections, each of those organic shapes fully and completely, or with some patterns. There's a number of different websites that I will include in references in the show's notes that you can go to for some process art activities that can help you to tap into this Zen. And a fourth idea would be to just take a pen and a piece of paper, again, either notebook, computer paper, whatever is available to you, and just draw different size circles over and over and over again. They can be connected, they can be overlapping, they can be separate off to the side. And then what you're going to do is similar to your scribble line drawing, you're going to fill them in with patterns. You're going to fill them in maybe with some markers or coloring pencils or with symbols or designs of your choosing. So there's four ideas that you can use to help yourself get into a little bit of a creativity flow state and help you to find a little bit of zen and deal with an emotional activation. One of the final things I will emphasize is that this type of making art is really focused on the process of making art. It is not focused on the product and what it will look like at the end. It's really about the steps that you follow and engage in to make the art to provide you with that emotional relief and stress relief. It is really important not to judge yourself during this phase. The real big tragedy that I hear from people is, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm not an artist. And that really comes from that judging part of the brain where we have expectations of ourselves around achievement and what we should be capable of doing and how we should be good at things like drawing, painting. And we have really gotten away from art as a form of self expression and just as a way to help us relax. Art is not just for galleries, it's not just for going on your wall. It is an act that is primarily something that helps us express our creativity. And just like engaging in creativity, the more that you do, the more you have. And so this can only help you in other areas of your life. So I will encourage you to get those creative juices flowing. I will encourage you the next time you have an emotional response to something that, along with deep breathing, along with meditation, you add a little bit of an art practice into your life. And you can do this anywhere. You do not need fancy art supplies to engage in process. Making art for this purpose. You just need a pen, a piece of paper, maybe a pencil, maybe a couple of colors if you wanted to add a little bit of color into it, but they're not necessary. And you can have some fun with making some designs and nourishing your soul with some art. So there you have it. We've talked a little bit about the limbic system and the amygdala and how you can channel your inner artist and let creativity be your stress reliever. So until next time, hopefully let some art help you keep your emotions in check. And remember, you can use anything close at hand to tap into that creativity. Thanks for listening, and hope you start to embrace the artisan life.